All right, just to confirm for the listeners who I've got on the phone here, it is the one and only David Brent. Is that right?
Actually, yes, but no. I perform under my full name. It's David Andrew Brent.
And can I say, I'm sorry for getting that wrong, but when I was honestly saying it, I was like, this guy's got three first names and I don't want to fuck up the order. It's David Andrew Brent. And if people want to find you online, do they go to davidandrewbrent.com? How would they find you?
Yeah, just type in David Andrew Brent and that'll pop up with Instagram, websites. I don't think, my YouTube. I don't do YouTube anymore. But yeah, just type in David Andrew Brent. Usually what will pop up after that is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Why is that?
Because I do voice doubling for Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's one of my big things.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get into that. I want to get to know you a little bit as a person, then we're going to dive into some of your industry comedian type stuff. Is that okay?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite childhood cartoon growing up?
Three. I had three. The first one would be X-Men that came out in the 90s. And before that, I would say it's Thundercats and Transformers.
That's amazing. Hold on, was Thundercats with Snarf? Was that Thundercats?
You know what? I can't remember. I'm too old now.
Lionheart. Snarf, Snarf! Wasn't that? Okay, you know what?
No, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say, the listeners will call me out if I screwed that one up, but I think I think you might be a little bit older than me because of those cartoon selections, but always classics. Personally, I grew up liking the Raccoons as a Canadian. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do very much. I always forget about that one. Weird.
The Raccoons, the Smoggies, My Pet Monster. Those were my go-tos for a bowl of cereal, you know?
Yeah, I remember, My Pet Monster. I really love that one. That was awesome.
And it only lasted 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Yet for my childhood, that was like that's up there with Care Bears and Sesame Street, you know?
Yeah, don't you find it funny how like your memory of it is that it was like 10 years long, but then when you're older, you go back and you're like, that was 6 months and it was off the air. What?
100%, man. And I don't know why that is. It's also, let's not go too far down, but isn't there something to be said about everybody believes the music they heard between the ages of, let's say, 10 and 18 is the best music ever, no matter what age they are today?
I'm half and half on that. I used to think that way, but now when I look back at some of the stuff I would listen to, I was like, I was clearly not really into that. This music is terrible.
Give me an example. I want to hear, what is your hidden pleasure that maybe, like, because I'll tell you, my first album I ever bought was Hootie and the Blowfish. And I'll throw it on. But is there something that you purchased, maybe go back in your collection, see today, and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Yeah, it was Sarah McLachlan's album to get the song Angel, because it was just a beautiful song. And now I'm like, don't tell anyone that.
We're telling it to thousands of listeners, I hope. That's actually, I'll say, you one-upped me. Most people don't one-up my Hootie story, but I'll say that Sarah McLachlan one sure did.
Well, that wasn't the first thing I ever bought. I think the first thing I ever bought would have been what the heck is his name? Oh no, I'm blanking on his name. It was a hip hop album. Anyways, I'm forgetting his name. Jesus.
Can you sing us a line or rap us a tune of his that maybe we'd be able to identify?
You know what? I'm just gonna look it up.
Go ahead.
I'll come back to this.
He's looking it up right now.
Oh, I remember. Okay, it was Big Daddy Kane, and I can't. Big Pimpin' was the album.
Okay, that's not that bad. Well, I guess as a white guy, it's a little bit weird. It's not.
Oh man, his stuff is the best. He had like the absolute best lyrics. He had best flow. Yeah. Anyways, whatever.
Were you a Big L guy then? Because Big L was a good lyricist back in those days.
I was when Big L came out. I was not aware of him. I only found out about him long after. Like probably when I started DJing in the early 2000s. I think he had passed away, and I found out about him shortly afterwards. Oh, sorry. The name of the album, it's a Big Daddy Thing. That was it. It came out in 1989. I think I bought it in like 91 on tape.
That's awesome. I love that. I love those stories. Okay, staying on the topic of music, let me ask you, do you remember the first concert you ever attended?
Actually, people that find this out stare at me in shock. but it was actually the Foo Fighters acoustic in Toronto in 2006, I think is when it was. So I was 25. I didn't go to my first real concert until I was 25.
No Sharon, Lois, and Bram or anything when you were a kid, eh?
No. My parents respected me, no.
No, that's all right, man. To be honest, I'm not familiar with the concert. I thought I'd see Foo every time they've come, but an acoustic show in 2006, it must have been an amazing one to see.
It was actually a lot of the songs because they were doing it in an acoustic fashion, but it was I think it was the Sony. It's now Sony Center. I forget what it was called. It was
I think it was the O'Keefe Center, wasn't it, back then? O'Keefe?
I can't remember. It's that venue in Toronto.
I know where you're talking.
3,000 people, but because the songs are acoustic, they're so much more intimate, so you can pay more attention to the feeling and to the lyrics, and you were able to really hear, if you couldn't figure it out before, what the songs actually meant. And then when he sung that song, "There Goes My Hero," I think it's just called "Hero," like 3,000 people started crying all at the same time, and I was like, holy schmoly, you could really feel how much he loves and misses Kurt Cobain in that song. So I was like, this is perfect for my first concert. It's nothing too crazy, but it was beautiful.
Well, and one of the things that the Unplugged concert series really gave us is the ability to hear some of the rougher sounds that we came accustomed to through heavy metal rock or grunge in a more melodic sound and more toned down, like bands from Stone Temple Pilots to Pearl Jam, Nirvana. My favorite was Korn. You got to hear that there was actually, sustenance and content beneath all the sounds that the distortion, the crunches. And, to be able to play Korn for my mom and go, see, this is what I've been listening to. And she, well, I like that. I'm like, well, that's the way I hear it, man. But, no, that's awesome, man. I like that story. Thank you for sharing it. Let me ask you this, okay? When was your first time then experiencing comedy? What was your first, was it on TV or was it live?
Let's see. First time experiencing comedy. I think that would probably have to go back to like Saturday Night Live, maybe. No, like Wayne's World around that time.
Okay, we're talking Wayne's World on Saturday Night Live, not the movie.
Well, Wayne's World. I'm referencing Wayne's World for that time,
Gotcha.
the years. But it probably would have been first time like actually seeing comedy. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it probably would have been like Saturday Night Live. Just watching the sketch show for the first time, and that would have been like Chris Farley, Chris Rock, Sandler, like that era.
The best cast there ever was, basically.
Yeah, like that's like such beholden characters. Like they're such iconic people. So yeah, like late '80s, early '90s, it would have been Saturday Night Live, and then shortly after that, I have very vivid memories of when Conan came out, and I would watch Conan anytime that I could. I loved him, Conan O'Brien.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this then. When was it that you first wanted to do what was making you laugh? When was it the first time that you decided you wanted to make other people laugh?
Oh, that, like, literally when I was 11 years old. This is, like, the clearest memory I ever have. I was going to hockey camp at the time with one of my best friends. His name was Mark. And I was in the back seat of the car, and we were going to hockey camp. And I remember his dad kept looking at me to check in on me, and I just started making silly faces at him. He started laughing, and I was like, wait a minute, you can make people laugh with a face? And that was like the first moment where I was like, hey. So that was like the first time right there. I was about 11 years old.
It's amazing. We always remember our first time, don't we? Okay, so and that's a sweet story. As a child, you got into it. When was your first time then? Maybe what was your first experience with a stand-up comedian? Like, it's a big difference from what you see on a sketch on SNL than going to a comedy club. When was that first experience?
Yeah, for me, like I think a lot of people who were coming of age in the '90s, it probably would have been Eddie Murphy, one of his specials. Yeah, like I think it was Delirious was the first one. Like just renting, like just renting the VHS tape with a bunch of friends. You're like 15 years old, and then watching it, and you're like, "This is the best shit ever." Mind completely blown. And then you're just like, "Wow, Eddie Murphy is a god. This is the reason why he's a movie star. Holy crap!" So it would have been that. It would have been Eddie Murphy's. I think it's Delirious is the first thing I remember.
Yeah, the red suit. If I'll share a quick funny story about Delirious. I grew up loving that movie, or that comedy sketch, and I had it on VHS. I eventually got it on my computer, like when you could first rip things off Napster. And I remember a girlfriend at the time had gotten it for me for the holidays as a Hanukkah gift. And
Nice.
well, it was funny because I opened it and I'm like, Delirious? And she's like, yeah, because I know you love it so much. I'm like, so you know I own it. Thank you. But it was one of those DVDs that I just never even opened. I think I still have it in my collection to this day, unopened. But definitely a
Wow.
classic, right? Another thing I'll say about Eddie Murphy, and God, he's a king of comedy. But when I first heard Richard Pryor, I thought this guy's ripping off Eddie Murphy. And obviously not realizing, oh, that's because I heard Eddie Murphy first. This guy comes before him. But when you listen
Yeah.
to just the ideas, not the jokes themselves, but the ideas behind him, talking about celebrity issues, talking about his family, and then the layout, like just the structuring of how the sketch went. Delirious
Yeah.
is very, very much, I'd say, grandfathered from someone like Richard Pryor. And I'm sure Eddie would admit it, that he was influenced by Richard. But no joke stealing. I'm not saying anything like that. Just the structuring, the concepts, if you will.
Oh, 100%. You could tell, like to me, Eddie Murphy is a sponge. He takes everything in, and he uses everything he has. So, like, to see that influence come out, and that was a note for me as somebody who I recognize. I'm kind of the same way, and I'm an impressionist, where I had to be very careful of like how much I'm soaking up of people and what I'm actually putting out. But yeah, Eddie Murphy, you could clearly tell he's just a sponge and just loves what he's doing. So no one really would be like, "You're a thief," because he's not.
He's not, and it's I guess a careful subject to tippy toe around, but there's definitely a difference between influenced and stealing, right?
Yeah.
I remember speaking to a musician, actually, this reminded me, years ago, and I had brought up the fact that I had grown up listening to him, and I had a rhyme that sounded a lot like one of his rhymes, and I felt like I was ripping him off by kicking it sometimes. And he said, "That's not true. You'll tell people you know me. If they ever said you sound like me, you'd be like, oh, you sound like that. But if you ever denied being influenced by me, that's when you're ripping me off. Where you go, oh, I don't even know where you say I got that from, you know?"
Yeah.
So I can respect that. Let me ask you this. What does comedy mean to you? Like, what is it to you in your life?
To me, I would have to say like to me it's life. Like comedy is life. Like the name of my album that I've been working on for years. The title of it is going to be "Everything in My Joke Is a Life." You know, and like you know that saying, like if somebody says to you, like, "Oh man, is everything in your life just a joke to you?" I kind of flipped it, and I was like, "No, everything in my joke is a life." And I was like, "That's kind of how comedy is for me. It's life. It's everything."
Well, that's profound to me. Let me ask you this then: do you think that there's anything off limits when it comes to telling a joke?
No, I feel like you can say and do pretty much anything, but you should only do what you like really believe in. You know, and like if you're funny and you want everyone to love you, like you can kind of get away with anything, and like the audience will be able to tell if you're just being like a true jerk and an asshole, or if it's just a joke. You know, so I don't think there's anything off limits. You know.
I like that answer. We are in a time of stiff political correctness. You hear comedians getting in trouble for telling jokes, people being offended. Do you think it's your job or responsibility as a comedian to worry about offending an audience?
Sorry, do you mean like to worry about?
Like, have you ever written a joke yourself where you're like, you know what, like you were just saying, this does mean something to me, or it does touch on someone's life, yet I believe that by telling this joke right now in front of this specific crowd, I may get booed or hissed at, if you will.
I don't know. It's a tough question. I think it's like people just pass the question over so easily, but it really is. I think it's so subjective to you as a person and your moral code, if that's how you think of it. Um, no, I don't think it's like my job to worry about if I'm offending people or not. But if I do cross that line and I do offend people personally, and like I'm like, oh, I feel bad about that, like I will cut that out of my act. Like I have one joke that it gets a huge laugh, and I'll never ever say it ever again. Because at the time I was like, oh, sweet, I got away with it. It's edgy. But then I was like, nah, this is a terrible joke. I shouldn't say this.
Okay.
And I.
What's the joke? I got to hear it. Well, let's hear it.
No. I'm being completely honest. I will never tell the joke ever again.
I apologize to my listeners for Mr. David Andrew Brent teasing us with this joke that we will never hear.
Yeah, no. It was completely. It was like me. It was me just trying to be super edgy, and trying to like walk a fine line and see what I could get away with, and then once I realized that this joke is completely racist and I was able to get away with it, it was like, but what's the point of saying this? You found out, yes, you can get away with saying this because people will be like, oh, it's just a joke. But really, all I was trying to do was, for myself, find out what I could get away with. So the joke had like zero meaning, zero impact. It wouldn't do anything other than like make half the audience laugh and make half the audience who it might affect because of their skin color be like, what the fuck? So I was just like, no, I'm never telling it again.
And I can appreciate that. If the derivative of the joke, the incentive to begin with, wasn't to make people laugh or to make funny of something that's hurt, then yeah, if it is just to hurt or, like you say, push the limits, I would agree with you cutting something like that out. That's not what comedy's about, right?
Yeah, no, it was totally selfish on my part. Like after doing, like looking back at it, like introspectively, I was like, no, that was purely just for me and my ego to see what I could do and how does it really help me. The only way it really helped me was structurally, it was a perfect joke. So I was able to take that structure and apply it to other stuff moving forwards. And then I just basically burnt it. I was like, I'm never telling it again.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that you used it like that, like a stepping stone in your joke telling. That's awesome. Let me ask you, this is a fun question. Are you born and raised in Canada? I don't want to assume.
Yes, yeah. I was born and raised in Thornhill.
Thornhill.
Which is just north of Toronto, like 20 minutes north of Toronto.
Yeah, I lived at Bayview and Steeles and played for the Thornhill Reds. I was.
Oh, crazy. So did I.
Did you? You played baseball up there?
Yeah, I played for the Reds. And then I played like select hockey, played for the Islanders.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you go to Northland too?
No, I did not. I went to Flowervale Public School from grade 1 to 5. And then I bumped over to a school called German Mills. And then I went to Thornley Secondary School and Thornhill Secondary School.
For the people who don't know geographically what Thornhill is, it's a very high Jewish community in there. It's just funny to me that they had a German Mills.
Yeah, that's actually like a funny thought that I've brought up every now and then, where it's like, I think about like 85, maybe 90% of the kids I grew up with are Jewish, but I was like, no one really thought that naming a school called German Mills and how it's, you know what, it just worked out that way.
You know what? Happy Pesach to all my people celebrating. Happy Easter to my fellow Christians and Catholics out there. But one thing I've always found funny is Jack Daniels. First of all, that it's lucky number 7, whatever happened to 1 through 6. But they make it in Lynchburg, Tennessee. And I'm like, Lynchburg? Really? You guys couldn't come up with a better name for a city than Lynchburg? Like,
yeah, I would love to know like the real reason why it's called Lynchburg.
Yeah, it's like having a Hebron in Germany. That's what I said.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm Jewish. I could tell these jokes, but
no, I don't mean it's terrible that you're telling it. I just mean like, oh my god, I can't believe.
This is the world. But okay, I wanted to ask a fun joke around being Canadian. It's my vault question. So my question to you is, if you could put 5 items into a vault that would represent Canada, what 5 items? Remember, this vault is huge. You can put the full cities in there if you want, but someone's going to dig up this vault in 25,000 years, and we want them to know what Canada once was. What would you put in there?
What would I put in there? I would put John Candy in there.
Nice.
Um, let's see. I would put a hockey stick for sure. This is gonna take a while. You're gonna have to.
No problem. And what I'll do, no, there's no editing. This is going straight out, but it would be a
Okay. So
CCM
I'll try to sum it up. So I think what I would definitely I would put John Candy in there. Hockey stick. The CN Tower. The word sorry cut out.
That's awesome.
And then also I would put a bronzed, 20-foot tall forearm in a hand, but the hand is giving you the middle finger because that's like passive aggressive enough for how Canadians can be.
Oh, you know what? When you started with bronze statue, I thought it was going to be that horrible Ted Rogers thing we've got outside the Skydome.
No, fuck Ted Rogers. Fuck that whole family. And fuck Wayne Gretzky too. There, I said it.
He said it, man. You got him on record. That's kind of crazy. Well, you know what? You brought up something earlier, and I don't like putting comedians on the spot, so feel free to say no. But you brought up the fact that you're an impersonator, that you do in an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Would you mind sharing some of your impersonations with us?
I'll try. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to say no. I hate to be a tease, but I've been quarantined now for 30 days in a very dry apartment, and my vocal cords are not doing very well.
That's okay. And you know what? I don't know if I would like to hear it myself off air to let you know that over the phone it does it justice, because.
And then, oh yeah, that too. Like the microphone on the phone will not do it justice.
And I can appreciate that. If you're doing vocal cord, it's like almost like, can you sing me a song over the phone if you're so good?
Oh my God. Do you want to hear? Okay, sorry, this brings up a tangent, but a huge. So years ago, my agent contacted me and said, "Can you sing like Schwarzenegger?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can talk like him for like 5 hours, no problem. I can yell, scream, sing. What's the deal?" She's like, "I need you to go to a studio in 10 minutes and sing Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses, the whole song as Arnold. They know you're coming. Just get to the studio now." And I was like, okay. So I had to go in and I sung Welcome to the Jungle on the spot as Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then they asked me to hum it. They're like, "Can you hum it as Arnold? Okay, now can you like scat it as Arnold?" I was like, what is this? And then I didn't hear anything from those people for like a year. And then they contacted us a year later saying, "Hey, do you want to get the biggest paycheck you've ever had in your life and do the coolest project you've ever done to date in your life? And we're going to fly you to another country to do this for voiceover." I was like, "What? Yes? Okay." Sorry, side little tangent.
No, that's awesome. That's an amazing tangent. I wanted to hear more of that story. What advice would you have then for like aspiring? You talk about having an agent. You're obviously working. If I'm not mistaken, you recently opened up for Ricky Gervais. Am I right in saying that?
No. The Ricky Gervais thing, that was my 2012, 2013. I was touring around with my one-man show, and I called it Ricky Gervais.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, but still,
Yeah. So I did it. I was lucky enough to do it for Just for Laughs 42 in Toronto. I think that was the last time I did it, and then I put it on the shelf. But that was it. Yeah, it was a one-man show. It's called Ricky Gervais, and the whole show is autobiographical. So for the whole show, it has nothing to do with Ricky Gervais. And then on the end, there's just a quick button where I'm like, "Yeah, this has nothing to do with Ricky Gervais. I just did it for marketing, and it worked."
I wonder, did you get a call from Ricky?
No, I actually, okay, so I was supposed to go to New York with the show, and for a couple weeks leading up to it, Ricky had not been doing anything for probably about a year, so he was kind of dormant and probably editing his upcoming projects. So I started tweeting at him. I was like, "Hey man, you should come to New York and open for me in this show. It'd be really great for your career." And then the next day he announces he's doing an arena tour, and he says, "Oh, look at that. My career's doing great. I sold 16,000 seats in arenas in 10 minutes after one tweet." And I was like, he's for sure telling me to go fuck myself.
The comedian to comedian, go fuck yourself. Well, that's okay. Thank you for the clarification there. But I still, you seem to be having a successful career. You're getting bookings. What advice would you have for aspiring comedians that are trying to make it in today's industry?
Well, trying to make it in today's industry, the first thing would be get your first 5 minutes. Ask questions from everybody. Everyone's gonna look at you like, who is this weirdo? But everyone's the new person or that new weird person for a little bit. So it's gonna suck for a little bit, but who the fuck cares? If you want to do it, just do it. But then eventually people will start like, oh hey, I got a tag for you. Just soak up everything. They're just go and try anything. Now is the time to just go up and fail. But you literally you just focus on that first 5 minutes and hone it until people start coming up to you and saying, hey, do you want to come do my show? It's such a repeated thing, and it's like stage time, stage time, stage time. You need to get up, and when you're first starting out, and you need to get on stage like 7 times a week, 8 times a week, 9, 10 times. You just got to go do it. And then eventually over time, you'll just get better and better and better. So it's stage time, stage time, stage time. Ask questions of everybody. Just pay attention. If a pro shows up somewhere, watch them like a hawk. Take it all in. You'll learn you won't even know what you've learned until like 6 months later where you're like, oh, I understand this. This is great. But in today's society, if you have your first 5 minutes or you have 20 minutes, and a lot of people in Toronto are doing this now, is you have to be super active socially online. You gotta have Instagram for sure, Twitter if that's your thing. If it's not, don't sweat it. Twitter goes up and down with its popularity. A lot of people are doing a podcast. You can do that if you want. But I would highly recommend you look at also becoming a marketer. You have to learn how to do PR. The job is literally selling yourself all the time. So in Canada, you kind of have to be your own press agent. You have to be your own booker. You have to be your own director, like all that stuff. So my advice summed up after this long-winded bullshit. Sorry.
No, it's good.
It's literally like just stage time, stage time, stage time. Fail now. Ask questions. Watch the pros. Soak it all up, and learn how to be a marketing genius. You gotta be comfortable with your own voice and yourself on camera. Do it now. Don't just don't wait. Just do it.
There you go, guys. Wise words from David Andrew Brent. And I would agree. I think that can go for many people trying to be entertainers. Everything you just said. If I was to start it with, what advice do you give to blank from the entertainment industry? And you said what you just said. I think that's, if you're in a rock band, if you want to be a comedian.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
So I've been pretty successful at producing. I've been producing live comedy shows for like 15 years, about that. And I've been putting on events for probably about the same time, if not longer. I used to be a rave DJ in the city. One thing I would highly recommend to any comedian, when you get your first 5 minutes, book a venue that is within your budget and put on your own show. You will learn so much about the business and how to talk to people and how not to talk to people. You will learn how to deal with people who are afraid of going on stage, and you'll be able to see yourself in them, so you'll be able to better get over your own stage fright. Producing your own show will teach you so much. You'll have to learn what it takes to promote something, how to sell tickets, and how hard it is. So you'll be more respectful and thankful of the people that are doing that job, and not just treating them like a piece of shit because you don't even think that it's just like a thankless job. People that are hiring you or paying you to be there, they're doing 24/7 all they can to put butts in the seats because it's friggin' fucking hard to do. Especially when there's no known names, no one knows who the hell you are, and you're trying to get the general public there. You will learn so much about the comedy industry and how to be and how not to be.
Wicked. Wicked words. Love it. Yeah, and I agree with you. We're going to get more into that rave stuff off air. I'm not going to get people into this, but we used to do a podcast about the rave, so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. I got one final question for you, a fun one. It's about Mount Rushmore. You're familiar with Mount Rushmore, right?
Like the actual Mount Rushmore?
The actual Mount Rushmore.
Oh, you want to? Oh, I think yeah.
You know where I'm going with this. I want you to create
so.
a comedy Mount Rushmore. Which four faces would you put up if we had a comedy Mount Rushmore?
Okay, so I would do this in two parts. Currently, right now, with people of our generation, I would have to say people, and I think like one of them has passed away, but I would literally put Deanne Smith up there. Originally from the United States, spent a lot of time in Montreal and Toronto. So I think Deanne's come up, you could say, would fairly be Canadian, but now they are in Los Angeles making a go at it. Deanne Smith would be up there. Stuart Francis, amazing comedian. He is Canadian, but he is based in the UK. Brilliant one-liner comedian, amazing performer, super smart, super likable immediately. I think I would also put, I would definitely put Greg Giraldo up there, bless his soul. I absolutely love Greg Giraldo. For some people, they were like, oh, he's too dirty. I'm like, but he could work a room, no problem, who was there. He was so smart, his jokes were so perfect, and he had so many jokes. He was going to get everyone by the end, no matter what. So I would, so it would be Stuart Francis, Deanne Smith, Greg Giraldo, and then I would put Chris Redd, who is currently on Saturday Night Live. Chris Redd, I saw him do stand-up in Montreal a couple years ago, and it was just like, it's literally like the sun entered the room, and there was so much energy coming from the guy. He's so comedically talented, musically talented. I'd put him up there. I'm forgetting, Aaron, how many faces are on Mount Rushmore?
4. You get 4 faces. So you've done 4, but if I'm not mistaken, you said you wanted to do this as twofold. Like, did you have 2 different versions of a Mount Rushmore, or is that your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, there was 2 different versions. So if I could add heads to Mount Rushmore currently, it would be Stuart Francis, Deanne Smith, Greg Giraldo, Chris Redd, and then I would put John Mulaney up there, and Jack Handy. From Deep Thoughts, from Saturday Night Live fame, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. Okay. One of the best comedy writers ever. That's like the first section. The next section.
I'm giving him a wall of fame. This is not a Mount Rushmore. This is more of a wall of fame.
Yeah, this is a Mount Rushmore with a wall of fame as well. So the next one that I would put would definitely have Phil Hartman first. I love Phil Hartman. He was just anytime he was on, I was always just like, I gotta watch this guy. He's great with characters, great with impressions.
I used to do Troy McClure. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. I used to do that when I was a kid. But,
like, who doesn't want to do that? It's so fun. It's just like instigate. Like when he talks, it sounds like he's on a playground, and you just want to jump in and be like, "What are we doing next?"
He's also one of those sad stories of what was going on in public versus what was happening behind the scenes.
And strange and also useless fact, the day that he died was my birthday.
Oh, that's like no, obviously not. So he died on your birthday. Do you remember which birthday? How old were you?
I think it was 98 or 99, was it?
Sounds about right.
I'm trying to remember. I'm just going to look it up quick and see here. It was 98. Yeah, 1998. So 22 years ago.
His wife shot him in his sleep, right?
Yes. The kids were in the house downstairs, and she was still alive when the police had arrived, and they were trying to get her to put the gun down. And this is the story that I've read.
Yeah, no, I've read the same one. It's a horrible, sad situation.
Terrible story. And then the children, I believe, were taken to their extended family somewhere in the Midwest, maybe, and they grew up completely out of the public eye, completely away from any entertainment hub. So it's such a sad story. But yes, I would put Phil Hartman would be there first, then Chris Farley, then I'd have to put probably, I'd say Adam Sandler. And now we're adding heads, so I would put Conan O'Brien and Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock.
Interesting. I like here. I have to say that the modern day guys. Maybe I need to crisp up on my comedy knowledge. I didn't know a lot of the names you said, other than Greg Giraldo and one other one you said there. But Greg Giraldo, speaking on his intelligence, if I'm not mistaken, he had passed the bar. He was a certified lawyer and decided to give up law to do comedy. So
yeah. But apparently that's the story as it goes. Yeah, he was a lawyer. He even defended, I believe, Jeff Ross. There's a story of him being held overnight or something, and apparently Greg Giraldo showed up and like got him out and was like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a lawyer. Whatever. Let's go do comedy."
Exactly. So Greg will definitely always hold a place in my heart. I love the fact that he always pushed back against the PC shit, and his roasts were some of the best ever done. He was out there with Jeff as King Roaster.
Yeah. So that joke I was referencing in the beginning of podcast that I'll never tell was me trying, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it was like me trying to be as smart and cool as Greg Giraldo, and I was writing it to try and like emulate him and see what I could get away with. But obviously I'm not Greg Giraldo. But I was writing that joke and performing it at the time when he was super popular in the roasts just before he passed away. So that was like eight years ago.
And I
maybe
can
longer
appreciate
than that now.
And the difference is that was who he is. It's not like he was writing it to be shocking. He was writing it because that's how he thought, that's what he felt.
Yeah, exactly. So I basically was like, I'm a fraud. This is bullshit. I'm not going to do this. I'll tell jokes about cheese. That's all.
All right. Well, before I let you go, where can people see? I'm going to put this up. I know with COVID-19, self-isolation, it's really hard for people to see anyone right now. Are you doing anything? Can people get in touch with you? Can they see your stuff? Where can people go?
Yeah, I'll be doing a live cam on Pornhub. I like to do. No, I'm kidding. Just go to Instagram. I try to keep things pretty simple, so I'll just be putting stuff up on Instagram. So David Andrew Brent, that's where you'll find me on the Instagram. I'll just be posting stuff while we are all hunkered down.
You know what? We got to try and do a show. We organize something and do something for these people, something to entertain, distract the minds. Like all these people are talking about bringing back the sports. I think it's a great idea. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but we need something. Something to take our minds off of everything that's being discussed. You wake up thinking it. You go to bed thinking it. It's good to have something to distract us, right?
Yeah, I've been really worried about people that are parents right now, because like even if you're living with a significant other and you don't have kids, yeah, tensions might rise, and if you have a limited space, like everyone needs their own free time to themselves. So I'm kind of like trying to think what would be the best thing for parents right now so that they won't even have to talk about their kids or COVID-19 or any of that stuff. I've been trying to think of that. But until I figure that out, you can check me out. Just go to Instagram, David Andrew Brent. That's the best place.
Or throw on a Running Errands podcast. I think they can entertain the children. There's some great discussion. And maybe I should bring some cartoons into this. I don't know. Maybe next time we'll throw some tunes in. But for now, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more, David. If you could stay on the phone, but I'm going to sign off to the listeners. Is that okay?
Yeah, dude.
All right, that was him. I hope, as always, you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy chatting. I will put links down below so you can find this man. Until next time, peace out, guys.